Ever get competitive over like spreadsheets, you know? Today we're going to dive into something that'll make you rethink what drives you. All starts with slaying orcs, actually. Well, in World of Warcraft at least.
A familiar battleground for many.
Kingdom, that's our focus. A WoW add-on. And before you click away thinking not a gamer, trust me, this gets at some juicy stuff about motivation, competition, how we visualize data, even in a fantasy world.
It's amazing how often those connections pop up, right? Universal stuff, but in the most specific places.
Totally. So we've got excerpts from Kingdom's page. It's on CurseForge. That's like the go-to for WoW add-on info. Descriptions, UI stuff, even links to the creator's Twitch, the works. Our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to figure out what makes this Kingdom thing tick. Why would players use it? And here's the kicker. What might you, dear listener, find relevant in your own world? Even if your world's getting, less orc slaying.
Always looking for those unexpected takeaways.
Exactly. Okay, so what is Kingdom? Picture this. Chaos, spells flying everywhere.
Oh.
But there's this one other player, right? You've got your eye on them. Kingdom turns that into a mini competition, a duel within the game.
So it's about more than just the collective goal. It introduces that personal stake.
Right. Like, at its core, its damage meter tells you how much you're dishing out damage-wise.
But the key is it's not just your stats in isolation, it's your performance compared to someone else, someone you've chosen as your rival. Suddenly, those numbers have a whole new layer of meaning.
And the winner gets a crown. Like, visually, their character's wearing a crown, can you imagine?
Talk about instant feedback. It speaks to that primal need for recognition, for status, even in a virtual world.
And it's not just bragging rights, right? The description mentions this tie-in with WarCult, another add-on by the same creator. You can sacrifice kills in the game to earn points in WarCult. So it's like adding a whole other layer of meaning on top of the competition.
It's about creating these layered progress systems, these really engaging feedback loops. If I do this, then I get that. It's something games do brilliantly, but it's applicable everywhere, right?
Totally. It's like those fitness trackers that give you badges for, like, walking to the mailbox.
Yeah.
Meaningless on one level, but kind of motivating.
Absolutely. It speaks to how our brains are wired.
Yeah.
We crave that sense of progress, of achievement, even if the reward is ultimately just pixels on a screen.
Okay, but here's the thing. With this whole competitive angle, you'd figure Kingdom's for, like, lone wolves, right?
Yeah.
But the creator also talks about getting your group to install it, which seems counterintuitive. Unless, is this hinting at some kind of team use?
Now that's interesting. Could a tool designed for rivalry actually foster collaboration? It really makes you question your assumptions about competition.
Right. Like, imagine a sales team with a Kingdom-style dashboard. Everyone's numbers, up there in real time. Motivating, sure, but also potentially a recipe for some serious stress. There's a fine line there.
Context is key, as with so many things. What works in a virtual world might not translate perfectly to a real-world office. Or maybe it could. That's something worth unpacking further, don't you think?
Definitely. And speaking of unpacking, let's zoom in on the tech side for a sec. So, digging into the description a bit, right?
Right.
It mentions that Kingdom can hook into this other add-on, something called Details, if you've got it installed, pulls data from it, makes things even fancier. But, key point, it can also work solo, like standalone options, right?
Always good to have options. And it's smart design, really. There's this concept called progressive disclosure. You don't want to slam a new user with every single feature right away. It's overwhelming.
Oh, tell me about it. I remember opening Photoshop for the first time, like, years ago. Button overload. I just froze. This Kingdom creator, they get it.
Yeah.
Start simple, ease people in.
Exactly. You start with the core functionality, the stuff everyone needs. Then, as users get comfortable, bam, you reveal the deeper layers, the advanced options. It's a principle that goes way beyond just game add-ons, you know?
Oh, for sure. Think about software, websites, even just like presenting at work. Info dump on slide 1. No one's going to remember that. Meet people where they're at.
It's about respecting your audience, their time, their brain power. Right. Give them what they need, just enough to take that next step.
And speaking of next steps, get this, Kingdom. It's not just a thing unto itself. The creator, they've got this whole ecosystem, world built around it. Like, there's a Discord server, a YouTube channel with add-on demos. It's wild.
And don't forget the Twitch streams, showing it off live, getting people hyped. It's that community aspect. It's huge these days.
Makes sense, though, right? If you're passionate enough to build a whole add-on, why not connect with other folks who get it? It's next-level engagement, even beyond what's going on in the game itself.
It's the passion economy in action. People with these incredibly niche skills, interests, finding their audience, connecting, building something bigger. Really inspiring to see, honestly.
It really is. Like, no matter how specific your thing is, someone else is into it too, somewhere. Find
Yes.
them. Share your work, your knowledge. It's got to be incredibly rewarding.
Absolutely. It reminds us that we're not just stuck in our own lanes, you know? The internet connects us, creates these opportunities to learn, share, even build a whole thing around something you love.
Okay, hold on. Now I'm about to have a career crisis thinking about this. But before I do, let's bring it back to our listener for a sec. We've covered a lot of ground today.
From digital crowns to like the nature of teamwork, even a bit of existential philosophy in there, I think.
It is all connected, though, isn't it? Whether you're slaying orcs or, like, formatting spreadsheets, it's about figuring out what motivates us, how do we measure success, and what role does community play in all of this?
Big questions, but that's what we're here for, right? To dig into these seemingly small things, these add-ons, these tools, and find the bigger ideas hiding within them.
Which is what makes these deep dives so dang fun. But before we get too meta on ourselves, there's this one last thing about this Kingdom creator that really struck me. This creator, right? They didn't just code something, they built a whole vibe around it. Got me thinking, what's my version of that? Like, what could I share? What skill that would get people this hyped?
That's the cool thing about these deep dives, right? Sparks that self-reflection. We all have something, some knowledge, some passion that could resonate with others.
Totally. It's like this Kingdom thing, it's the tiny example of this whole creator economy explosion. Find your niche, build something awesome, and boom, you're connecting with people across the world who get it. Never thought a WoW W add-on would make me think about, like, my purpose or whatever.
It's a good reminder that we're not just along for the ride anymore. We have the tools, literally, and the platforms to create, to share, to build a whole thing around what we love. That's powerful stuff.
Okay, before we go too deep down that rabbit hole, let's bring it back to our listener. We covered some serious ground today. Digital crowns, teamwork, even a little bit of, like, a life philosophy snuck in there.
It's all connected though, right? Whether it's slaying orcs or, I don't know, organizing your sock drawer, it's about understanding what motivates us, how we define success, and that power of community. Can't underestimate that.
So if you're listening to this, here's your takeaway, your little nugget of wisdom from our Kingdom deep dive. Next time you're using a tool, any tool, ask yourself, where's the crown? What's pushing me to do this better, to achieve more?
And how could you use that same insight, that understanding of motivation and reward to inspire others? Could be at work, in your hobbies, even just in how you interact with the people around you. Possibilities are endless if you know what to look for.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder those possibilities.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep those minds curious, folks. You never know where the next deep dive will lead.